Our next investigation brings us to Rauceby Asylum in Lincolnshire, a place that over its 90 years of operation experienced an unimaginable amount of sadness and sorrow. These now empty, peeling corridors have been witness to hundreds of stories untold, lives filled with torment and confusion, where so many were sent away from society, locked up and forgotten. When we step foot inside these forlorn buildings this evening, we'll reach out into the darkness and see what these empty structures have to tell us. Rauceby Asylum opened in 1902 and was charged with taking the strain off of some of the larger lunatic asylums in the Kesteven district of Lincolnshire, which by the turn of the century had become severely overcrowded. Originally known as the Kesteven County Asylum, the complex here was designed to be as self-sufficient and self-contained as possible, with its own workshops, bakers and medical facilities such as a mortuary and surgery, with a number of occupants even working on the asylum farm, which supplied much of the food to the estate. The purpose of asylums such as Rauceby was initially to take care of those in society suffering from mental health conditions which by the 19th century our knowledge, understanding and even treatment of was very much in its infancy. The real tragedy, however, was that many of these places became dumping grounds, a place to hide away and lock up the unwanted and the unloved. Anybody unable to take care of themselves, or even those with very minor psychiatric issues that today would be very easily treatable and managed, could have found themselves sent off to live out their days behind the prison-like walls of an asylum. Many families genuinely believed that sending their relative off to such a place was in their best interest, in the hopes that some kind of medical treatment would be available to them. However, far too many times, due to social pressures, families felt shame and embarrassment of being associated with someone suffering from mental illness, and felt that sending them away, out of sight and out of mind, was their best option. In the late 19th and early 20th century, our knowledge and attitude towards mental health as a society was very different than it is today, and we certainly can't judge entirely people's actions and views from back then by today's standards. That said, it's very important not to undermine the amount of sadness and torment that patients must have endured within these walls, given the lack of medical treatment and understanding of their illnesses. In 1940, during the Second World War, the buildings were taken over by the RAF and became a specialised crash and burns victim unit implementing state-of-the-art plastic surgery, with even members of the Guinea Pig Club, a support network for airmen injured during the war, spending time at the hospital. After the war in 1947, the hospital was handed back for civilian use, joining the newly formed National Health Service, where it became Rauceby Hospital, and had a large decline in its usage in the 80s, followed by its closure in 1997. Since then, a large portion of the site has been redeveloped into a housing estate, with the remaining building sitting vacant, a monument to those who perished within its walls over the last 100 years. Although details are vague, a number of people who have visited the asylum since its closure have reported experiencing strange events, and that maybe the vacant buildings are not really as empty as they seem. As paranormal investigators, we still don't really understand what creates ghosts and what creates hauntings, but there's been some big theories out there, and one of the most popular is that as living beings we somehow create a residue, and that residue can sometimes be absorbed by buildings or environments, and under certain circumstances can be replayed. It's possibly known as a residual haunting at times, and sometimes I think this kind of residue can gain some form of intelligence, and I wonder if that's why some of these buildings here are haunted. There's been some incredibly strong emotions in all of these buildings over the years. You've got not only people sent away from their family, you've got the confusion and torment of them dealing with their mental health issues with no real kind of medication. Undoubtedly, at various points in history, there would have been abuse inside these buildings. So there's some very, very intense negative energy in some of these buildings. I wonder if that's maybe what's caused some of these hauntings. Good evening, everybody, in the Rauceby Asylum, in this hospital. My name's Luke, this is Sophie.
Hello.
That's James through there.
Hello.
We've come to visit here this evening. If there's anybody that'd like to come and talk to us, if you've got anything you'd like to say, any help you need, or just a friend to talk to, we're here for that. Are there any patients here at the hospital?
Just caught some sort of little mist thing, but I just saw it go in front of the torch. It was a bit of dust.
There's loads and loads of dust in here, I noticed it earlier.
Yeah. On the camera it looked like a wispy arm or something, but I saw the dust a bit floating around.
Don't have to be shy if there's anybody here.
Was that wall there earlier?
That wall. This wall.
Yeah, I think it was.
Maybe we'll get confused, but yeah, I don't know.
You look how old the bits and bobs around it are.
Yeah, just to say, we were walking around earlier and obviously filming the day stuff, and we kind of mapped out most of the places here, but there's probably still areas that we didn't actually get around to exploring, and like mapping it out in our heads in a matter of hours was literally impossible. So especially coming back in the dark, this might well be the first time we've come in here, so we've got no idea where anything is.
We've been in here once, literally just before, and then that's been it.
Yeah, so we're quite blind as to the layout of it all.
There's no doors anymore on these rooms, so you can come and see us if you want. You can walk freely about. You show us in some way that you're still here.
That's all we're here for, is to talk to you and comfort you in some way. If you just want a friend to talk to, that's why we're here.
Yeah, I had a bell.
If you just want a friend to talk to, that's why we're here. That's why we're here.
It wouldn't be something to do with the clock tower, would it? The clock tower?
It doesn't work anymore.
Maybe it's like a residual dinging.
Could be.
I said, hold up. Ask if you can do it again.
Can you make that bell sound again?
Wouldn't be a church, would it?
I don't know if it's me, but it feels cold here.
I can feel it down my legs.
Above you, you've got a hatch to the loft.
Oh yeah, that's probably it then.
If there's anyone with us, could you maybe show yourself in front of our torches where we're looking? Appear in some way.
What was that? What was that?
I don't know. A bat behind your head.
You scared the life out of me then. What was that other noise?
It was like a
Something.
You heard it, yeah?
Yeah, come out of here because yes, you're going to annoy the bat. That's the only bat I've seen in this whole place as well. There's none roosting here. Yeah, I heard
That
it.
was like it came from down.
I thought it came from in here.
Oh.
I thought it came from in here to that side.
Yeah, I just heard it was behind you, that's where it heard it.
If that was someone who's with us who managed to maybe use their energy to make their voice heard, could you maybe do that again, please? You can use the energy from our torches and from our cameras if you need to.
After receiving no more responses, we decided to bring out a new piece of equipment, the Mel meter, which measures electromagnetic fields, frequencies that are said to be affected by paranormal activity, as well as an ambient air temperature readout. This particular model is also fitted with a REM pod, which generates an electromagnetic field around an antenna, and should anything break that field, an alarm will be sounded.
Put it down, nothing should really change in the environment if it cause anything to trigger on that. I was going to say, it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
I went out and stood in that bit just now and thought I could hear sort of voices again, but indeterminate, like where they were coming from. I was wondering about maybe setting up in there.
Set this up in there.
Yeah. What's that reading at the moment?
0.0, 15.9 degrees. Well, fluctuating between 15 and 16. So it should drop on that here. Look at that.
Yeah. What's that? That's what I mean, like I heard voices when I went in there, it was weird. Shh. Is that picking up anything?
Is someone here with us?
Footsteps.
Footsteps. Hello?
There's not anyone in here, is it?
No.
That was definite 2 footsteps. Echoey as well.
Who's in here with us?
There's birds outside.
We know there's someone here. Can you show yourself to us, please? What's it?
That was like a. Hear that?
You're trying to speak to us.
I heard that time. Like, ugh.
We can slightly hear your voice. Can you try and be really loud? Is that birds? What was that?
What? That's birds.
There was something. What's that?
Whoa.
What's going on here then?
What was that?
It's like very low kind of. Muttering.
It's not pigeons going like low.
It kind of sounds like a little pigeon.
Should we come in here and try it?
It's worth noting that whilst we were hearing a number of unexplained sounds, we were also aware of potential things that could be causing them, such as general creaks and groans of an old building, potential voices carrying over from the nearby housing estate, and even pigeons roosting in the rafters. Despite this, we could find no solid explanation for the sounds and voices we were hearing, and would continue to hear throughout the night.
I'll go back on some more.
Not like that grumbling sounds, I don't know. Place that little box on the floor there. Could you come around that, please? The metal pole sticking out the top. Can you touch it?
You film in here. I'll go in that bit.
Whereabouts are you going?
Just around here. Can we hear your voice again, please? Maybe speak or sing. Maybe you can move around that little box on the floor. Take art energy somehow and use it to go around there. You guys hear that?
There's loads of movement down there. No, down there, I think.
Is it pigeons? We haven't seen any flying around.
No.
What's that?
I don't know, what was that?
Could have been.
No, it sounded like
Wings.
that could have been a pigeon.
There's a roosting up. But that noise that's down there, can you hear it?
Could be, sort of.
There's something down this way. It keeps going like. Did I just ping?
Yeah, I think you walked in front of you.
Stop. If there was a bird, wouldn't hear through that, would we?
We soon ended our investigation of Rauceby Asylum. However, a number of months later, I met up with a fellow investigator who had also previously visited the asylum. After performing our investigation at Rauceby Asylum, I was contacted by Jamie from Paranormal Torch, and you actually told us about the asylum in the first place. So cheers for that. It's a fantastic place. We're going to hopefully do a joint investigation there in the future. But there was one place that you said you had the most activity, which was...
I had the staircase,
Yeah.
I think that was the male wall down.
Yeah.
But we also had a lot of like audio phenomena
Yeah.
in the ladies' ward, so there's actually two areas.
Yeah.
But yeah, the staircase down, I suddenly come over this sort of feeling where someone was cowering in the corner, sort of thing. I'm not really that psychic.
Well, that's the thing as well.
It's
It's interesting. Audio phenomena was predominantly what we got.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think you said there was someone else that contacted you subsequently and said that the top of the staircase and the landing
they
area
did actually,
was where they had stuff
That's
happen.
right,
So I think the real interesting thing is that there's 3 people that have all been there and investigated, or 3 groups, and they've all had activity in the same sort of area. So I think we've definitely got to go back there in the future.
Definitely.
Hopefully you'll join us for
Yeah,
that.
we're definitely up for that.
And we'll really try and push it there next time.